Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm your host, Charlene, and we are talking about the magical herb mugwort today. And I have Anika joining me in just a little bit to help guide us with all we need to know about it. But first, I do like to pull some things I've recently done to help with my own personal practice. However, last week, as crazy as it was, again, not bad, but I did definitely feel the energy with the dark moon and the new moon. But by the time the weekend came, I really ended up putting more of my energy into my business instead of my witchcraft practice. Now, this is twofold. One, I needed to. I think I've mentioned this before, but the month of January is my busiest month of the entire year. It has not only month-end deadlines, but quarter-end and year-end deadlines that are all due by January 31st for my clients. So I normally do work weekends in January, but the twofold part, the second half is with last week's energy in my personal practice, I honestly felt a bit drained and not really willing to do a bunch of work in it this past weekend. So now I do like using the first moon in January to finalize my goals for the year. And at this point, I feel pretty good about them right now. I do have them posted in my bathroom so I can see them each day as a reminder of what I am working for and what I'm working on in the next immediate 12 months. Let's see, I did a little bit more planning with my 2024 garden coming up in spring. Definitely inspired by the mugwort notes I was making to prep for today's podcast. But I'm going to be trying something new, not new, but new for me, with raised beds in my garden. So I'm very, very excited to finalize the layout and then start making a list of supplies so I can build the beds. Now, I also made a list of what I'll need for my in-bulk weekend coming up, and my first ever candle that I'm hoping to make, along with the bread that I am baking for the office staff. And for some reason, I'm really eager to make my own homemade butter. I have no idea why, but it's been on my mind. And since milk is such a big part of in-bulk, I thought, why not? Perfect weekend to do it all. So for me, this past weekend, it really was a bunch of office work, list making and organizing that took place. But I loved every second of it. Oh, and Justin and I did end up recording our Loki episode. So I'll have that one airing next Wednesday, and you guys are going to love it. We had lots of fun with Loki. For today, though, and Mugwort Magic, let's head over and talk with Anika and see what she has to say. All right, well, I am back and I am so excited to have Anika with us today to talk about my first in hopefully a once-a-month series pulling herbs that we can use in our practice. And there's no better herb to start with than the witch's herb, right, Anika? Welcome.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk about mugwort today.
I am too. And I have to let the listeners know that Anika did this little recon. Can I say it? When you went to get the
Oh,
little
yes.
things? Okay, so Anika and I both wanted our own mugwort. So I personally don't have any growing in my garden yet, and she didn't either. But there was some mugwort growing organically at her dad's house. So she did some little recon movements and got some clippings. And I tried to propagate everything she brought in, and only one made it. Of course, we're doing it in the dead of winter, so this is not the time to propagate any herb, but one actually took, and we have a beautiful baby muggy.
Yes, we do. I'm so excited. It was Operation Save the Mugwort.
Save the mugwort. Well, and I just like that it's going to mean something. Like this is, I like adding things to my garden that have a history to it instead of just going to, which is fine. It's perfectly fine going to the gardening center, what do you call them? Not gardening center.
Yes, there's just something a little bit different when it comes to having something so local. I mean, you're really
Yes.
honoring the genus loci, and it's like I previously already had a connection to this specific plant, so I knew it would be okay. I've used her before.
Oh, you have?
And
Okay.
I think to make some of my burning like my smudge sticks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've had a little bit of a connection with her before, so I think she was like, "Yes, take me."
Oh my, I love it. All right, so for the listeners, if you guys are over on my Instagram page, the picture I have up for this podcast is actually a picture of the propagated little mini muggy that
Yes.
that Anika actually has now. So she's taken over control and she's going to care for it and grow it. Okay, so mugwort. To back up a little bit, I like to kind of give myself some guidance towards, the upcoming year with episodes. And I wanted to try to pull an herb every month that I can focus on and really dive deep into. Starting off with mugwort, the witch's herb, the mother of all herbs, right? Really is
Hmm.
is such a perfect way to get this series for Witchy Work Wishes going. What what do you know about the herb? It's just like general stuff.
Well, I think the number one thing that Mugwort is most known for is the kind of psychic abilities when it comes to it. It's one of those herbs that
Mhm.
really will open up all the channels for you. A lot of people love using mugwort when it comes to dream work, lucid
Mhm.
dreaming. I think it's really connected in the mainstream media to dream work, which really is, I would connect it to its main thing. But you can also use it for many other things, like
Sure.
meditating, and it really helps ease you into that altered state when you want to begin your journey with whether it's astral projecting or just kind of tapping into your altered consciousness a little bit more.
I think, when you originally got those cuttings from your dad's yard, there were some leaves on it that I kept. So I
Hmm.
will, and they have been drying since then. So so I have not used it in a tea before. I haven't put it like under my pillow or anything like that. But I think the little bit that I was able to dry from it, I'm going to be able to use, and I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, it's a super powerful herb. I actually just this past weekend have created it's like, the tallow balm we were talking about, but it's more of
Hmm.
like a witch's flight salve.
Yes.
So traditionally you can, you use more poisonous plants for that, but I think mugwort is obviously on the tamer side. It's not gonna it shouldn't create any horrible reactions when you apply it topically. So I created a little bit of a solve for that to apply when meditating. So I'm really excited for that.
Well, I think that actually is perfect because I did pull some of the like more, like general stuff for mugwort, and
Yeah.
there definitely are medicinal properties, not just with digestion, but it also said like energy, circulation, excuse me, absolutely with menstruation. But it
Yeah,
helps
it's a
headaches.
huge feminine herb. It's a lunar herb, so it's really connected to the divine feminine.
Yep. But it also said it could be used to help relieve pain, which would be topically.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. Okay, so some of the
definitely the
things.
powerhouse.
Oh my gosh, right? So some of the things I pulled for, on my list to review was the mugwort actually is the scientific name is Artemisia? Artemisia?
Artemisia, I think. I
Artemisia.
say Artemisia. Yeah.
Okay, so named after the Greek moon goddess Artemis. It's called the mother of all herbs since it is often used to treat female reproductive issues and help girls with their periods. I do have, as far as the herbal gardening side, that it is a
Hmm.
flower. I have not seen the flowering part yet. I'm really excited to. It is a flowering perennial. And if the listeners are not familiar with what the term perennial means, it basically means it's going to be alive all year long throughout each of the four seasons. Maybe not in its glory, but it will be alive. And the
Right.
counterpart term to that is annual, which means it's going to, have one cycle every year. If you plant it, it's going to die off, and you'll have to get another plant to redo each year, each annual year.
Hmm.
Let's see what else. Oh, I've got element is Earth, planet, of course, is Moon and Venus, which leads us to that feminine energy of the herb.
Yeah,
I
absolutely. And I think it also, even though it is in the lunar energy and it's really connected to the divine feminine, I mean, we all have a divine feminine within us,
Mhm.
whatever you identify as. And I think Mugwort is fantastic at helping anyone kind of connect to their divine feminine energy states. And
Hmm.
again, it's also kind of a wild child, so it
Oh,
really helps release wild and untamed sides of yourself when you begin working with, or I mean, at least in my personal experience,
right.
I've always kind of been a wild child, but it was like really on your shoulder, like, yes, do it, do
This
it.
is it. No wonder you were drawn to
Exactly.
it. Okay, let's see. I've got zodiac signs tied to Mugwort are Taurus, Libra, Cancer, and Sagittarius. I think the crystals and stones were interesting. For Mugwort, they were pulling bloodstone, fluorite, and turquoise. I'm not
Same.
sure why the turquoise, but I thought that was interesting. And then the deities, of course, are going to be Artemis, Diana, and the crone portion of the triple goddess, which I love.
Yes.
All of our
Yeah.
moon
So
girls.
exactly. Yeah. It's pretty connected to Hecate as well as Sage. It's
Mhm.
one of her three like most sacred herbs.
Right. What about magical properties? I know we were talking about the lucid dreaming, but it really does seem to be more in that lucid dreaming, psychic powers, astral projection type divination.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like putting a huge speaker connected to, your little quiet electric guitar,
I like
It's
that.
like as soon as you turn it on, as soon as you start working with it, it's gonna boom everywhere. It's gonna amplify every single one of your channels. So if you're someone who really struggles when it comes to accessing a deeper side of your mind when you sit down and meditate and you're like, oh, I just can't get it, and your mind is kind of racing and you think
Yes.
you're doing it wrong, I think absolutely mugwort is an amazing plant to start to build a relationship with. And I think mugwort would be definitely more than willing to help anybody out when it comes to that stuff. So, drinking teas, I would be a little bit careful when it comes to ingesting mugwort just because everybody has a
Hmm.
different reaction to it. You can start to build, I don't know, what's that word? I guess not building immunity, but you start to kind of,
Tolerance.
yeah, you build up a tolerance to it.
Hmm.
Because I know it's definitely a smokable herb. So if you put it in, like with skullcap, or I think there's a couple other ones, you can kind of adjust it that way, I guess, but also just burning it and kind of allowing yourself to inhale the smoke can
Hmm.
help a lot. Tea, I would say do little by little because you can kind of have adverse reactions.
Sure.
But other than that, making solves and even just like owning the plant and taking care of it and
Hmm.
building a relationship that way. Just say, oh, I'm going to start to take care of it and grow it and not really work magically with it yet, but just connect to it really, really deeply.
Well, you're speaking to my heart on this one. One of my big goals for 2024 on a personal side is doing more of not doing more, starting my actual doing more like I've been doing it forever. Oh my God. Starting shadow work, but getting into, that meditative state and learning to relax my mind and being able to drift into, different areas of, consciousness, unconsciousness.
Hmm.
And I think mugwort, I mean, I love how usually everything just lines up for me the way it's supposed to line up. Like,
Yeah,
I think, having that big thing with Kristen at the end of the year
which
about
was
shadow work.
amazing.
Right? I know. That was such a great episode.
It was so
Um,
amazing.
I cannot wait. I'm actually looking into actually working with her. I just really
Yes, me too.
connected. Okay, good. So but if this is I'm gonna have to baby step. There's no reason to jump straight into working with her when I can't even calm my own mind down. And I think that mugwort tea is going to be a
Mhm.
perfect, let's start baby stepping. I've got to practice, even if it doesn't feel, right. It's that stupid chameleon card I keep pulling all the time that sometimes you
Yeah,
have to keep doing it and fake it till you make it until it becomes, I don't know, more
real.
real, familiar, yeah, familiar something. All right, so how do you make your tea? What do you do? How long do you let it steep for?
So I definitely would mix it with other teas.
Mm,
So any other herbs that are going to help you, because it has quite a bitter taste, which is really good when it comes to aiding in digestion, but
sure.
it's not really that great if you're trying to like get into a zone. So
Yeah.
definitely mix it in with other.
Okay.
I would recommend peppermint, even lavender, which can help as well with
Mhm.
meditating and just calming your mind, as well as lemon balm is really good for stress relief. and
Hmm.
balancing like the cortisol levels.
Sure.
Um, if you like the
Really?
taste of mugwort, you can definitely just have it on its own. But
Hmm.
I would say it's more likely for you to have a weirder reaction to it when you first have it if you have it just alone.
Yeah.
So I would
Definitely. And
mix it with.
you can always add like a little bit of fresh local honey, right, to help take some of the
Oh
bitterness of,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Some honey, or even if you have like fresh mint plants, that would be great.
Ooh, that would.
Even like a lemon slice,
Hmm.
a little bit of cinnamon. It really just like helps with anything. It'll be tasty no matter what.
Right. And then how long typically, I mean, do you actually feel like your body changing? Like, oh my gosh, I know it's working, or it's just so mild and gradual that you just kind of drift off.
That is definitely going to be subjective. So personally, I definitely do. Whenever I work with mugwort, it's almost like a veil is just brought over every single inch of my body. It's like
Oh,
instantaneous. The first time I worked with mugwort, I was like honestly blown away. And I was like, yep, you're my plant. I like this.
right.
So I started off by burning it. So even to this day, even if I am going to drink it or if I'm going to use it any other way, I love to just burn my mugwort and have this smoke
Hmm.
um, kind of envelop this space. And that really is what puts my mind at ease and kind of will take you out of your physical body.
Now, when you say burn, so I have never made any of my own personal like smudge sticks, right? Or cleansing
Mm-hmm.
bundles. I know you have because you gave me one.
Yeah.
Um, but if we're talking about, are you talking about actually burning just a dried leaf or actually making a smudge stick and cleansing the room with it or cleansing the space there that you're going to work in?
So kind of both. So what I like to do is, yes, I have a smudge stick of mugwort, but honestly, I kind of just keep it. It's wrapped up, but I don't keep it as a smudge stick. I just have
Uh,
my little set area of my dried mugwort, and so I like to
mhm.
break it up and put it on those charcoal discs. So I use it as a loose incense, and that's how I've really liked doing my smoke cleansing lately is by loose incense.
Mm,
So I'll put it on. I have like a copper dish, and I'll put
mhm.
some sea salt down to, magically help with everything else
Yeah.
as well, but also protect the heat and keep it insulated. So I'll put salt down and then I'll put the hot charcoal stick on and then I'll put the dried mugwort herbs on top. So then it'll burn from there and the smoke will kind of go everywhere. I can walk around the room and kind of waft it around,
Yep.
but more like a loose incense.
And are you taking just pure mugwort or are you mixing it with any other herbs?
I usually just use my pure mugwort.
Yeah,
Yeah. But you can. I mean, it really depends. That's our favorite thing about witchcraft is you can really do whatever you want. So
for
you can
sure.
mix it with lavender if you want to. And if you want to use mugwort dream wise, I would say definitely pair it
Mhm.
with lavender. Yeah, if you just want to have a crazy astral projection session, then just pure mugwort.
Oh, right. And I've even got to one of the things I wanted to try is to take some dried mugwort into a little pillow sachet so I can put it underneath my pillow just to kind of bring some clarity to my dreams and possibly help me remember them.
Yeah, it will definitely help you remember them. I'd say it's really famous for helping you see more prophetic dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you use it in your nighttime ritual. Like if you take baths, put it in your bath, again, your tea, in your lotion, or you can even go as far as taking the dried herbs and just kind of energetically rubbing down your body with it and then
Hmm.
applying your nighttime lotion, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I love it. And I think too, we should probably note, like, even though you and I are into having the actual, potted herb in
Hmm.
our garden or on our, balcony or wherever it can be made anywhere or it can be grown anywhere. You don't have to have a full garden. You can have a little balcony garden, a little patio, something. But you don't have to have
Hmm.
fresh mugwort that you're gonna dry dry yourself, as magical as that is,
Yeah,
right? We can buy mugwort, the leaves. You just have to find a good source to buy it from.
absolutely. And there's definitely even like other mugwort teas that you can just go and buy. Like it's a fairly common thing,
Mhm.
and especially like wormwoods. So because it's part of the Artemisia family, there's a lot of different mugwort plants. And it's even really closely
Oh,
related to wormwood,
yes, I
which
saw
does
that.
very similar things, but very different plant.
Mhm.
So I think the one that we have out here is the Artemisia Douglasiana. So that one's
Okay.
like the standard like California mugwort. That's the one that we see everywhere when we go on hikes. We do have the Artemisia vulgaris, which is like the most common one. It doesn't really matter which kind you use, but I would definitely be mindful of that whenever you're buying your dried herbs.
Where you're getting it from. Yeah, if you can do,
Yeah.
I certainly know that with our honey, I try to stay as local as possible just because I think it helps without allergies. But
Oh yeah, it does.
right. But if you can, for any of the herbs, if you can get something that is close to your specific growing region, or I'm not sure. I know they break the stuff up into regions, but to your area, that would I think that's going to be the best.
Yeah, but that's not to say that you can't, build a relationship with it
Mm-hmm.
because we have access to really anything we want. We can get plants from East Asia, even though in reality, 100 years ago, as witches, we wouldn't have worked with those plants. So
Yeah.
I think it's a really good thing that we can.
Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh. Okay, what about using mugwort for the protection element? I know it's definitely more tied for the dream and the psychic powers, the astral projection, but what about protection work and purification?
Personally, I haven't used a mugwort when it comes
Hmm.
to protection.
Hmm.
Purification, I'd say yes, because that goes hand in hand with cleansing your space and making sure whatever needs to be out is out. So it opens the
Hmm.
doors for, everything else to come in. No, I personally don't have any connection when
Use it
using
as a,
it when it comes to protection,
yeah. I
but
mean,
that
it
is
seems
something to
like
think about.
this. So yeah, I'd be curious to see if you could tie it into if there is some element of protection maybe when doing the astral projection or the dream, like if it is
Mhm.
somewhat of a protection herb when you go to do all that stuff, or if it just helps you travel those channels better, you know?
Yeah, it definitely could. I would say just now as I'm thinking of it,
Hmm.
we know it is a very abundant herb and it loves to grow and it will actually like choke
Hmm.
out your other herbs. So it's best in its own pot. I would say maybe there's a little bit of a protection element to that because it really takes over its own space and it protects
Yeah.
its space and it's really hard to get rid of. Um, so I would connect it maybe to that. I do know that mugwort also helps a lot with divination. So if you are
Hmm.
beginning to divine whatever, however you like to do it,
Yeah.
because it opens up those channels, it will really help you be more aware and sensitive to the messages and the information that are coming forward to you that you need to interpret. So it could help you interpret those much smoother instead of feel like you're shooting in the dark here, trying to see something that's not there.
Right. So do you think, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit here, but do
No, it's
you
okay.
think if if somebody hasn't used it in a tea format before,
Mhm.
how, again, I know taste is going to be a big part of this, but typically I always like to steep my tea pretty long. Like I let it sit for a good amount of time, but without knowing how my body is going to react to this, like what do you, I don't
I
know,
would
like
say 3 minutes.
you would say
Don't,
three? Oh
yeah,
my God.
you can definitely have tinctures. So you can make tincture of mugwort, you can buy tincture of mugwort, and we all know tinctures are extremely, extremely potent.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting to go on that route, then
Mhm.
definitely start little. I would say probably like 3 to 5 minutes, even like 5 minutes could be pushing it a little bit for your first time because you really can have adverse reactions. Like I used to have these smokable herbs that or these like tokes, but it was all like dreaming herbs or calming herbs. And actually, I gave one to my brother once,
Oh gosh.
and he threw up. Like
Did he?
the mugwort, yeah, the mugwort really upset his stomach and it
Oh,
made him
too
throw up
much.
everywhere.
So he's like, that's it.
So,
I'm out.
but also that was in like us, that was like in a little smoke. So that could have been
Yeah.
a lot worse. But when you're doing tea, pair it with something that could also help ease your stomach. So maybe a little bit of ginger, lemon, honey. Try it out for 3 to 5 minutes and then just sip on it and see how you feel. I mean, if you start off little, it shouldn't do anything. Just don't go all crazy in the beginning.
Right. And then you're never going to come back to it. You're going to be like, nope, forget it.
Exactly. You're gonna have a really bad time with it and you're gonna think, oh no, not for me. But if you do it little by little, see, because I knew that and because that happened, I was like,
Yes.
oh shit. So I was like, maybe I should tone it back a little bit because if that happened to him,
It's gonna happen to me too. Oh my
but
gosh.
now it's like totally fine. And it really is so potent that you really don't need a lot. I know I'm the same way. Like I love having my like nighttime tea steep for like freaking 20 minutes
Oh,
and
for
like still
sure. Me too.
drinking it with the tea bag in there.
Yeah, literally that's exactly
But
what I do. Yes.
when it comes down to herbs and especially magical workings, I think it can do a little bit more harm than good because it kind of changes the, I guess, like the actual scientific like compounds of the tea. That's why we're kind of guided to 175 degrees for white tea, 160 for green tea,
Right.
because you
Right.
don't want to burn it and you don't want to ruin the structural integrity of the
Exactly.
actual herb and the molecules itself.
Well, and I think too, as much as these herbs have powers that we are incorporating into our practice, a lot of it's going to come from the state of mind that we are in when we're going to start using them, right? So if we're
Hmm.
in a healthy headspace and we know the direction we are wanting to go with working with, mugwort or whatever the herb is that you're doing, I think that is going to give a lot of power to the direction you end up going with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if it's in your subconscious. So
Hmm.
even though it can really help you unlock those parts of yourself and, ease into it so you can go in and reflect, you also have to be, like you said, pretty mindful in the beginning of really, it's all about intention. And that's really what a huge part of witchcraft is. And whether you're doing light work or dark work or whatever, it's all about your intention. Wherever you put your energy, that's what's going to come out of it. So if you're terrified, if you're scared, if you're worried,
Yep,
unintentionally, that's what's going to happen. But that's because that's where your mind is at.
I think so too. All right, what about using mugwort in some form or fashion for our corporate side of things, our work, our offices? I out of the gate, I'm going to say probably not going to happen. I don't see how. But that just means it's not going to happen at the office. It doesn't mean we couldn't have some good meditation about something we need to work through for the office with the help of mugwort, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I would say pretty sneaky with it. So maybe even like
Hmm.
taking a tiny little like pot that can fit in your pocket of just like a solve that you make or
Hmm.
purchase. It doesn't really matter. You can bring it to the office, if you're having a pretty stressful day or a moment. You can excuse yourself, go outside, go to the bathroom, whatever, and apply a little bit to wherever the back of your neck, your
Yep.
third eye, your wrist, and just kind of take a moment to really sit, settle down, connect with the herb that you're working with, and put your mind back in its place.
Kind of
Um,
reset. Use
I'd
it
say
to reset.
exactly use it to reset and purify and even protect. Like you can even use it for protection right then and there.
Hmm. And you know how
Tea, I'd say tea.
yeah, yeah, but
No,
tea,
go ahead.
it depends how, I guess if you have a really light tea, but if it's going to start potentially changing your state of mind, that's probably not going to
Yeah.
be the next meeting comes in, you're like, hey.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
but the roller balls, I love putting things into roller balls. So if it's again that topical thing, just to give you a reminder of, hey, to reset and take your space and, protect a little bit, maybe.
Exactly. Or even the night before, if you could do a big meditation, or, if there's a big
Mhm.
meeting or if there's something that you don't know about, sit with Mugwort and meditate on that specific thing. Have the intention of receiving messages for that specific question. And then it will definitely help show you where you need to be.
I think so too. I think using it in that sense is probably going to be the most powerful for the office. But again, I
Yeah.
mean, in who knows what you have available, for the listeners, what they have available for options at their desk, but certainly a little, cutting or, starting to grow a little tiny itty bitty pot,
Yeah,
something you
exactly. You
probably
can
have.
have a little plant in there.
Yeah, and just watch it grow and care for it at the office and then take it home to, put into a bigger pot. I mean, at this point of the seasons, at least for the northern hemisphere, we're doing all of our seeds inside right now, even if you are in California,
Yeah.
like we are. But you're giving them a healthy start, so that certainly could be something you could have at your desk. But I think the rollerball, or if you're trying to look for answers, maybe drinking the tea over the weekend and working, with your channels that way would be a good option for mugwort.
Yes, it definitely would. When we're working with any plants, when it comes to your practice, I think
Hmm.
a lot of people tend to look over the fact that, like, what if the plant doesn't want to work that way? And I think, especially with plants, because they are spirits, and especially if you are an animist and you believe everything has a soul and everything has a
Hmm.
consciousness, then connecting with the herb first and, really sitting with it and asking it, is it okay for you to work with me in this way? And maybe it will say yes. And maybe this day it's like, oh, like I'm not really comfortable working this
Hmm.
way, but I'm more comfortable working that way. I'm more comfortable doing this. So, you really don't know until you ask and you connect. And then because that will really affect how you work with it and also your results.
I could not agree more.
So,
I think for me on my journey with that is going through either a propagation or growing a plant or, tending to it like that caring step, for me, that nurturing step and creating that bond. Like I love doing that.
mm-hmm.
I did it with my lavender before I did all of the lavender gifts I did for the boys and my mom at Christmas. And like I love having that connection and touching the plant and caring for it, and then bringing it into my practice to say, okay, now what can we do? How can we
Yeah,
work together?
absolutely. Yeah, and if you can't really decipher, if you aren't at that spot where you can really either audibly hear it or see it in your mind's
Mhm.
eye or really connect to it where you feel like the plant is talking back to you, you can always talk to it and then divine. Like you always have the tool of divination on your back when it comes to that kind of stuff, especially when it comes to a very new herb or a very new
Sure.
plant that you haven't worked with before.
And it is different when you're growing it yourself. I mean, I think we've got wonderful options for purchasing things, and sometimes just based off of where we live, that's just going to have to be how it is. But gosh, if
Yeah.
there's an opportunity to grow it from, a little baby muggy to
Yeah.
to a big plant, oh gosh, I would highly recommend it for anyone listening.
Yeah, exactly. It really is super special because, it'll just make your magical working so much. So, oh my gosh, sorry, there's a cat right there. Oh my God, there's another cat.
Seriously, too?
Black cats. Two black cats.
Oh my gosh, that has to mean something.
Daddy. Oh, you're so cute.
Hi, kitty. Are they babies or big kitties?
I saw that one's a big one, and then there was a little one that just,
Well, could be a kitten.
oh, it's so cute. Okay, sorry.
Oh my gosh, guess what I had in my yard for the first time? Did I already tell
What?
you? The
No.
weasel?
No.
Yes. So it
A
was,
weasel.
oh my gosh, Anika, that's what I'm saying. I've got to put some more energy into what all these animals, and I know, like little by little, my yard is nothing, grand or beautiful by any means, but like little by little, I'm doing little sections, right? And Taylor, and for Christmas, I asked for a potting bench to help me with all these little herbs and all these things I'm doing, right? These projects. So Taylor was outside building it before he headed back to college, and we had music going, and we were just kind of out in the backyard, tidying things up and doing things while he was building. So it could have been that just the general area was kind of disrupted or the noise, but all of a sudden
Yeah.
he popped his little head out, super, super cute. Long tail one. I know California's got two, like either short tail or long tail, but it was a longer tail one. He did not seem scared of me at all. Like just almost more curious, like, hey, what are you guys
Really?
doing? Oh my gosh.
Was he like the little red weasel?
Look, yeah, it's got like the bandit, like the not raccoon face, but there was red on him. Is that the normal one here?
I've seen those ones, especially out by me. They're red on top and they kind of have white little bellies.
Yes.
But they don't, I don't know, do they have a band on their face? I don't think they do because those ones look more like ferrets. But
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering if there's two different kinds because there's the red ones and then I think there is the red ones are tiny though, like tiny, tiny.
Like what size? Like,
Like I'd say probably like 5 inches.
oh no, this guy was way bigger.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, this guy was like, I don't even know. I have to remember back, but I was so excited. I was sitting there talking to him, and he was looking at me, and he went down to like a little ground squirrel's hole, or in the ground,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, you're here for something. Let's think about it.
Oh
That's a
my
total sign.
gosh, you're getting weasels and you have toads. Where's the fairies?
That's right. Cue the fairies, and all of this is, and I really am putting some effort into. I know with Imbolc coming. to planning out my garden, and I want to do raised beds this year. So I've done this like little mock draft of what I think I can add in, even if it's just a couple to start. But I think the
Yeah.
raised beds with the amount of activity I have in my yard, they're probably just going to eat everything anyways. But I'm going to try some stuff and maybe have some flowers and then some herbs I might keep in the pots to protect them from the animals
Yeah,
eating.
no, absolutely. I think that's extremely inspiring. I know I've definitely been wanting to for a long time, but just haven't found neither t the time or the space. But you know what? I think this year could be the year.
You could do pots in your yard for sure, right?
I
In your
definitely could.
patio.
And like even those little carts, just because I wouldn't want my dog like to like get into them.
Yes,
But like the
exactly.
little like raised carts that you can move around, because then we can always move it whenever we relocate.
Oh, for sure. That would
Yeah.
be really cute. And do you think I know buying them are it's probably gonna be really expensive, but and I always tend to do this. I'm like, "Psh, I can make that, but I never make it. So it's
Yeah,
such
no, I do the same thing.
right. Like I can do that. It never happens. And actually,
Get
the
like
building
a like
materials,
get like a spurt of energy and like head over to Home Depot and then come back with a crap load of stuff.
like, and building materials are expensive right now. Like it's they're still pricey for just wood and two by twos, two by fours, whatever you're gonna get.
They really are, especially if you're having them outside, because I think you need like the pressure treated wood, and that is really expensive.
Well, so yeah, the kits might be a better way to go, just because they're going to give you everything you need to build something, and then just like IKEA, you have to build it all yourself either way. So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
see.
Or I've even seen people use like the water troughs, like the horse water trough.
Right? Oh, that's a great idea.
Hmm.
Oh, look at you. So maybe,
I'm a
maybe.
pro gardener over here, but I only have one plant.
Well, now you have a baby muggy.
I do. I have the baby Muggy.
I am so excited to watch her grow and
Me
flourish. I
too.
think
I
she's going to
really
be.
hope. I need to, I think, put her in a bigger pot because she's starting to put all her energy into growing really tall.
Oh yeah,
And I kind of want more of a bushier one.
yes,
So I'll have to repot her.
yeah, and then she'll send some other little sprouts up.
Hmm.
Okay, well, this is amazing. Do you have any other final thoughts on mugwort or things that the listeners should kind of be aware of, especially if they're brand new in this?
I would just say, we talked about everything when it comes to burning the herb, and but if you
Hmm.
are going to ingest it, just obviously be very careful and be very aware. It's definitely not great if you're pregnant.
Right.
Um,
That's right.
but anything else, I'd say just do your research, and obviously if you're going to start taking it internally, be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think,
But no, it's an amazing herb to work with.
I love that. Yeah, it really is. There's so, and this really is the witch's herb. Like this is the perfect one to
Yes.
start this
I
series
think
on.
it honestly like it makes it stand across any other herb in my personal experience. Then,
Right?
I'm really connected to a lot of different herbs like lavender and sage and
Yes.
thyme and rosemary and mugwort. Like those are my guys, but like mugwort is definitely he kind of pushed everyone aside and was like, I'm first. Like
Excuse me,
so
pardon me. I am first.
so it will definitely want to work with you. Yeah, it just it's amazing. It really is a witch's herb and it feels out the magical space. So if as soon as you start working and doing your spell work or rituals or even journaling, like it's so happy to be a part of it. It's like your little puppy who's just like looking up at you like, "Ooh, can I have some?" But you're just like boiling a pot of water on the stove.
Can I be a part of this, please?
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. All right. Well, Anika, thank you so much for joining me today. I always have fun talking with you. Take care of
Me
the baby
too.
muggy cutting. And then, hey, when spring hits and that mugwort plant starts growing again naturally and flourishing at your dad's house, let's let's plan another raid so I can have
We're
my
gonna we're
so
gonna have a lot.
I want my little muggy too.
We're gonna have a big bush of it.
I love that. We'll make it right. All right, for everyone listening,
So
I did write a poem for today's Mugwort Magic episode. So if you want to stay for that, I'll grab it and be right back. And Anika, thank you, thank you, thank you.
of course, thank you.
All right, here we go with a Mugwort Magic poem. And it goes. Mugwort Magic lead the way as I sip my yummy tea today. Start to calm my restless mind and leave the noise and stress behind. Psychic powers are gifts of yours. Help me heal and open doors. Take my dreams and help me see the lucid facts that are meant to be. Mugwort Magic lead the way as I sip my yummy tea today. The witch's herb you just might be, but with you the future is mine to see. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had lots of fun with Anika and the Mugwort Magic episode. I am so very appreciative of your support and that you do come back each week to my podcast. Next week is all about Loki. And what would you do? What would you do if he called? Would you pick up? Well, we are talking with the Pagan Padre again and his interactions with Loki, and I hope you're able to join us. Till then, have a great week and weekend, and I'll talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.